Well, good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's had a good weekend. I know I did. It's always great to spend time with your girls. Still have a few hours, but gotta work on this old truck, get her up to snuff. Times change, and it's time to say goodbye to Midnight Martha. Not that people have a choice anymore. That's the thing with the bigger vehicles. You've got to accommodate with times, and I've sold my home, liquidated. Time to move on with this big beast too. So it's a weekend of getting it all cleaned up and done and get rid of it. And while I do that, it's just funny, all the messages from so many of you. Still a lot of people stuck on the WEF, stuck on the idea that Canada's not a country or USA isn't a country. And I laugh, folks, and I don't mean to put anybody down, but it's always the same thing. A shared YouTube video, often with somebody with that British accent or that carried over British accent, meaning you can take the accent of the person doing the video and chase its lineage right back to the UK, or of one of the worst colonial jewels in history highlighted by the Allies post-World War II. What am I getting at? South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, so many. And it's always the same regurgitation, trying to take you away from reality, the truth, into a far-fetched system that gets you back on absolute crazy. And you can call it lunatic left at sometimes, you can call it radical right at sometimes, but I promise you, the answer that you're going down through this YouTube video, and there's so many of them, I can't even keep up. Anybody with a good narrative or a good Hollywood projection, a professional video, people will jump on that. They don't even know who's talking. The guy can claim, or gal can claim to be a doctor, some kind of specialized person who knows how the world works, and everybody, oh yeah, I've never chased that person's credentials, can't find them in any government, don't have any history of them at all, but people will follow it. And you know what? People can say whatever about me. I never ask for money. That should be your first clue that these people aren't who they say they are, because they need money. They claim political powers or they're an establishment, but yet they don't hold any office. Often not. Some may be registered or legal doctorates of education. That could be lawyer, medical doctor. People just, oh, they said they're this, they're that. But yet they have no publications. When I say that, meaning the larger academic community at large hasn't published them at all. Not even once. They don't even have any inputs into any of those high academic institutions. You should be able to show that, hey, I got these friends, I've applied in these various things for publication. At least you entered, you submitted research, you can show a clear history of that. And if you've been rejected, you should be able to show that track record too, but they don't have any of that. They just do, and people say, oh, they're terrific, great, they've done so much, but yet when you research these people, they've done sweet nothing. They made a website, somebody's given them enough money because they've been selling BS to a lot of people, just like the folks at home, and asking for your money. Then they turn around and use that to create a better narrative that's a little bit financed, but a lot of it went right into their genes. So we're going to go through a number of topics. One is Canada a corporation or not a real country? I've been battling this for literally forever and a day. Folks, there are 193 registered nations in the world. Absolutely, since 1945, throughout the period of decolonization that started in 45 and continued legitimately in 1960 onward. We see that from many of the former colonials. We watched 85 new countries come forward. We've watched antiquity countries that have existed forever and a day disappear shortly after 1948, wiped out or removed from the books forever. Some are still around, still fighting for their right to be a country, and they're losing. They're losing ground every day, and it's just a matter of time before their numbers and their conditions are so weak that they won't be in existence. It happens all the time. And if you look at Kashmir, that was a country. There's so many others. 214 is the total in the world, but only, like I said, 193 have official status. There was even 25 more than that since World War II, since 1945. And in that period of a little over 2 years, they had a 2-year window to make a choice. They didn't make that choice. Those leaders at the time thought, we'll be okay. And to their surprise, they got wiped out. Now, folks, do I like the way Canada was created? No, but there's other countries created much, much differently, without any say of the people often, and done by foreign powers sitting in, yes, you could say a boardroom, and they got country status imposed. That's reality. So many countries and their borders. Ukraine's one of them, just most recent time. That was imposed. That was done out in the West with the Allies in absence of a full board. And that's what happened. And what did it lead to? Absolute conflict. Absolute conflict. Taiwan, Beijing, United States in large majority. I don't mean little majority or little minority. We're talking large majority of Americans voted Beijing of the Communist Party by more than 2/3 of the American population, meaning your average Democrat and Republican in full-on agreement agreed to give Beijing the one China policy. USA agreed to do that. Not only USA, the rest of the world in large majority. They agreed to it. They gave them special powers. They accepted that. You don't get to go back on your word, not a presidency. You don't get to poke bears around the world and expect nothing to happen, folks. Which brings me to the bulk of this video now, as I see a lot of people are logged on and people try to talk about monetary policy, talk about narratives of, this country is a corporation, and that whole narrative, or the myth is Canada, and so many go on and on and on. The reality is, however it was done, which I don't like the conventions that were Canada, it was done by a wealthy elite, a foreign elite in a far-off land. Something the United States will never accept for themselves. And in history, we see the War of Independence just to show you exactly why that's not tolerated in the United States. Canada, it was tolerated. In fact, it was tolerated exactly at the end of the American Civil War, leading into America coming on strong as a united 50 states that would be. It wasn't exactly 50 at that time either. They led to be, but Canada, as a colony of the British Empire that was USA too, the elites that controlled it, the Canadians who swore by it, we call them loyalists, the same loyalists who got turfed from the United States or literally lynched in a tree. At least all their statues, their established works and highlights were all thrown into harbors, decapitated or destroyed. That's reality right across the United States, especially in the northern states. That was done first and foremost. Any trace of the British Empire as some kind of elite ruling, as it's displayed right across Canada, is completely gone from the United States. You won't find that. And it was adamantly done. Americans will never go back. That's logged in the history books. more than 250 years ago now, folks. More than 250 years. Colonialism in North America, all the way down to South America, is approaching its birthday. 2050, roughly, will be its 500-year birthday. A devastation across the entire world, and which brings us to monetary policy. The monetary policies people try to talk about in this new world order are old world order stuff. This is exactly how the world functioned pre-1945. You can look at the League of Nations, the absolute infringement of anybody not of an elite status, which brings us to WEF, your central banks, how they really operate, and what people need to know. Central banks, for the umpteenth millionth time, are owned by the citizens of a country. Does WEF own or control your central bank? No. No, they don't. Because that's your working wealth. Every time you go out and work and produce something or build on properties you hold title to and increase the value, or create goods that can be traded, or services that can be traded out in the world to bring in other resources or monetary monies in your system, that is the power and ultimate reality of central banks. What has changed, folks? What has changed is that your politicians across lots of governments and worlds have gotten in bed with wealthy global companies who all get funded through each and every central bank through whatever country they operate in, and they've created a debt system. And what happens is these companies can borrow from the public institution where they're doing business in which country and not really have to pay it back, because at the end of the day, they can just shut down operations, claim bankruptcy after looting all the wealth out of the central bank through debt borrowing, call her a day, and the debt goes on your backs. And what does that ultimately mean? Let's go back to what all central banks are in the world. It is the domestic national country's population working to create wealth. What is wealth? Again, we're going to say it again. Resources, whether that's something, goods you trade, or services you trade that go out to the world market and return other traded goods, or things you build in infrastructure on your properties, or the government uses you to build on their properties through your labor that you've traded. However you do that, whatever's built, whatever's expanded on, and then these companies that have taken money that way, borrowed against all of you, turn around and either fold and leave you holding the debt that they've accumulated in your system, in your bank, meaning you're debted to the, I guess the best word to say is where their businesses didn't work out, where they've lost, and now they're supposed to hold that debt, but they don't. They walk away, and the debt goes on to you, the public institution, the central bank, which is all of you who live and work in the country. People talking about big corporations like BlackRock, trillions of dollars. Oh my God, look at their portfolio. Folks, that's all of your portfolios. If you've worked and built a pension, like in the United States of America, an old age security, private investments for your retirement, all Canadians, all unions, all private sector employment, doesn't matter. Anything that you've invested in have gone through these funds. That means it's all yours. Sure, these companies are large, but all they're holding is your work and your retirement in a large portion of their savings accounts, other investments there. Sure, sure. Have they borrowed against other countries and in systems and other central banks where you could lose your shirt? Sure. Have they invested in real estate with your retirement earnings? Sure. Is that a bubble that could explode just right here in Canada? Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the truth. There's no secret where there's some guy or group of gals, men, women, business billionaires, they're sitting there waiting to cash out and leave you hanging. It's what your governments have legislated, laws they've put in to give these people a free walk. In the United States, you don't get a free walk. You don't. They can chase you anywhere in the world. Anywhere. You don't get away. You get registered upon birth. That portion is true in the United States. You take citizenship there, you agree to America first, and America will chase you down. There's no hiding your money, running away anywhere in the world. I mean, I shouldn't say that. There's some countries that you probably wouldn't want to live in, so go have at her, but good luck keeping your wealth or your money secure there. You'll never make it. Most countries, any reasonable countries, all have this reciprocal agreement to rat you out to the United States of America. And they know if they don't, it's for them too. So they're not going to support you. WEF is garbage. It's about, I think about 1,500 to 3,000, 1,500 for sure, multi-billion-dollar organizations. Then there's about another half that are upwards of $1 billion or in the range of hundreds of millions. And we say that in USD. Most are all European. Most of them are European with a narrative backed by the crown, established, protected by the crown. I've gone through so many of these organizations for over 3 years. They have a terrible narrative of sucking off the tit of working people throughout the world. This has been Klaus Schwab. He's made mass amounts of monies multiple times off of people and their countries. That's the truth. Cashing in on dollars. George Soros, he did it to the UK, no less. He's done it to massive countries around the world. He did it by generating wealth, by transferring wealth from working Joe Janes of an entire country just through monetary exchange, hedge funds they call it, cashing in on money just before it crashes or to crash it, and then buying back cheap and buying back all the debt, and then forever getting payments from people getting bamboozled. Absolute country manipulation. People say, oh, it's not true, it's not true. It is true. 14% of your country's economists, which I'm in too, I'm one of the 14%, who highlighted all this stuff, who go through it, talked about exactly what's going to happen with inflation long before everything that's transpired leading up to and through the pandemic. We're a minority group, but we were 100% right. Most times we are, but they call us radicals or lunatics, depending whatever narrative they can use from your past. We definitely, none of us work for government. Some civil societies, some not. Some in political organizations or private firms trying to highlight this all over the world. But in Canada, even the United States, there's about 14% of that community. That's us. We never get media time, seldom, rarely. Some people who did well in private organizations or corporations have gotten some spotlight or they're dug out from the past here and there. But for Canada, for sure, if it's not a Crown sworn person, you're not going to get any time. You're not going to get any credence or any real honest publication. None whatsoever. Nobody will give you that stage. You're shunned, shot away. Right now you see so many, including, if not almost all, media saying, oh no, it's not like that. Oh, it's not like that. WEF's good. Everything. They're not running your country. Well, maybe not technically they're running your country, but they're definitely running your country into the ground. And what does that mean with all of this debt? That's where the money's made. It's not that they're taking over your institutions. It's that they're convincing your institutions to place all debt burdens on you, the working people. They don't even have to raise your taxes. Right now in inflation and with interest rates they say they have to combat with, and wages, and hear me out, public sector doesn't take the huge cuts in wages. They never do. And largely that service sector, that public sector, they're now 90% of your GDP, meaning it's not a real GDP because it's taxpayer funded. And if they haven't increased your taxes, they've increased deficit spending beyond all measure. You can look at the total debts year after year Canadians take on, federally and provincially, and you'll see it's at an increasingly expansive rate. Like this, guys. That's how it goes. Year after year. They keep doubling down every 4 years on the last political party in power. They double down on the debt to expand the GDP. Well, what happens to that debt? And I mean everybody. All of the debt goes on the children of tomorrow and the people of today. So governments, to remain in power, say, we're not going to increase taxes because we're spending more than we ever have, meaning devaluing you, making you work harder, and transferring your taxes to debt servicing. To the point one day there's not enough revenue generated, even if you taxed everybody at 100% to pay it. One day it's going to hit very soon. And the government says, well, in order to avoid that, we're going to practice colonialism. We're going to import mass amounts to rejuvenate the population, because all this debt creation we've created against the people of today and those to come, what we're going to do is pile it on the newcomers too. That's how we displace how much we're destroying the people and enslaving them to debt. We'll just import a mass amount of people because people can't afford to have children. Every time you increase debt, you can X off how many children a family can afford to have. That's what they're doing. So it's a double-edged sword. And you're watching it all over the world. The United States is dying. Canada's been dying largely. I think Alberta's the last real province that has a natural birth rate to replace the population. That's reality. The cure, they say, for the inflation is to jack up interest rates to reduce demand because there's no supply. They blame COVID. They blame Russia, even though Canada trades zero with Russia. Canada has oil, third largest reserves in the world. But legislation from your government to match foreign influences from, yes, WEF, who isn't even the largest culprit. You'll look at a lot of those companies who don't even account for all the globalists are tied to Uniqlo's, Law of the Sea, which is from the UK, old colonials. And it's not that we're picking on UK, but the royal family has all the power over your international relations. Your politicians gave them that in 2012. And people say that's not true. I say, well, look at Stephen Harper, 2012, silently in the media. You can maybe find one small publication, or you can find an old newspaper with a small 8-page little report. Harper turns around and signs on to the Commonwealth Charter. And you can look it up, you'll find he did. The Commonwealth Charter 2012, which basically tells you that anyone who signs that, you've agreed to give the royal family absolute control over your international relations, i.e. your trade, your treaties, whatever narratives the United Kingdom goes through, you're going to agree to. And they're all listed in the Commonwealth Charter 2012. 8 points, which reflect all the non-binding UN agreements everybody hates. They're all listed there. They're not named specifically, but you see the words. You see the Green New Deal listed right there. The lunatic environmentalism that can't be proved. You can look, there was a snowball Earth many times. The entire world froze right over. We've gone through massive ice ages. We're coming to the end of one, going to be starting another one according to patterns of the world's history. One can look at it and you'd know that we will be going into another one. They say, well, global warming is shutting all that down, but we can look at times of world's history when carbon is in the atmosphere and reptiles roam the earth, amphibians roamed the earth, dinosaurs roamed the earth, or birds today. And I mean massive more time than human beings in periods of absolutely no ice, none whatsoever, a very higher temperate world, and a mass amount more carbon. And what did that equal? Massive greenery everywhere. I'm not denying that human beings can destroy the environment. I'm not denying that human beings can wreck. I think we should deal with terms like water is life. But those proponents, those of environmentalism, are not about water is life. Not a one of them. Not a one of them. We can look at the country of Canada, and you'll find that it's those unceded provinces, the original provinces of Canada, Confederation, are all absolutely dead against water is life. You can look at massive bodies of water in Canada, shared with the United States, who also all 50 states have water is life. Canada does not in those unceded areas, which are all the Great Lakes, every single one. And you can look, and you will find in those unceded provinces, at least in their original size and scope, were all built on water is not life. You do what you want, poison the water, pollute as hard as you can, harder than any other provinces and territories in Canada that actually most represent the United States of America, who do not pollute at will. Now, there was a time, and that time's long gone for the United States and good portions of Canada, but not all of Canada, not old Canada, not the original 1867 British Empire design called Canada. Water's not life. Pollution is radical. It's huge. I've been across Canada. I've seen exactly how recycling goes. They don't like to talk about that part. They like to focus on carbon, but what about all the plastics? And Trudeau says, oh, single-use plastics. There's still mass amounts of single-use plastics. The plastics that are most responsible for the destruction of the ocean, destruction of Great Lakes, the biggest and largest freshwater systems in the world. It's all there. It's all truthful. And there's more than just plastics. There's toxins, biohazards, all kinds of stuff. We're not talking about runoff waters here, folks. We're talking about absolutely dumping and polluting. You can look, it's those old 1867 provinces that do all of that in Canada. There's no narrative about that, none whatsoever. They talk about carbon, but because of the Crown lands, provincial, federal, we have mass amount of trees, mass amount. In fact, like Russia, you could make a deal with countries around the world to purchase carbon credits, or big companies around the world working in Canada earning massive monies to pay the people of Canada for the forest. In fact, you could hire people to clean the dead old forests, clean them out. You could do that. And you give them carbon credits. Canada takes more carbon out of all its pollution than any other country in the world, by a large margin. There's only 38 million of us. Look at the massive land. There's nothing else like this anywhere in the world at that great amount. Look at it. Per person per capita, nobody can even touch Canada, not by a large margin. Now, Australia too, but they don't have the forest capacity, nowhere near the carbon capture in Australia that Canada has. Russia has. But Russia, 161 million people. Canada, 38 million people. Look at the difference. Folks, it's old world order stuff cemented in Canada's constitution. A lot of people make videos, make narratives. They say Canada's a myth. This is that. It's not the truth. It's not the truth. The truth is Canada's a country. Is it a shit country? Absolutely. It's all written out for you. It's all written out for you. It always has been there. I can't believe in 2022 we have nobody talking about just how dangerous Canada is existing in that legal design. The first 2/3 of your constitution giving extreme powers to what you can only define as divine, meaning godlike human beings running your country over all of you, listing a class, and then further putting the savage peoples in. Now, Trudeau Sr. tried to put forward the charter that everybody brags about. I'm going to say it again. Show me any monarchical system ever in the history of all of it, all the way back to the Magna Carta. We're going back to the British Empire again. Early, back in 1100 in England, the Magna Carta, the first charter. Whoever in any of those monarchy systems, 900 plus years of it, when has there ever been a charter ever forced upon a king or any of the divine politicians inside monarchy systems? Why do you think the United States threw it out on SAS, the War of Independence? Why? Why does everyone around the world always go at it with those systems forever and a day? Now, they got powerful, they won, they raped, pillage, murder, plunder until they got what they wanted. Charters have never worked. You can read the oldest story, Robin Hood. I'm sure everyone's heard of that as a child. If you haven't, go look at it. Rob from the rich, give to the poor. Robin Hood and all the people, they fight for the king. The king promises the Magna Carta. He signed it. And the second they all finished the war on a foreign power and won for their king, what did he do? I won't be utilizing that. Who's going to make me? Get to work on the Baron's land, you filthy, ungrateful peasants. Do what I tell you, or you're put to death. I will tax you without representation, take anything from you at will, bankrupt your companies at will. And that's what they do over and over. They tell you, you have all these rights. And it's only if it's politically popular for a majority group, but always, like every charter, there's always somebody who gets liquidated to pay for any given right that king or divine politician bestowed upon you at that particular time. But don't get comfortable with it, because any coming in monarch or divine ruler that will take over can wipe that away tomorrow. Nothing's ever given absolutely, even though it's written absolutely. Who makes the divine politician in a monarchical system? Who forces them to live by it? Nobody. They're the top authority. They're always, if not in control, full control, whether out in the open or through customary law, in control of your military, your entire justice system. You call that King's Court. There's no real justice system. It's not an independent judiciary. It's not a corporation, guys. It's a divine entity cemented in law, in your highest law called the Constitution. Any monarchy system runs like that. Centralized governments, and everyone goes, oh, look, China and all these other, they're centralized, highly centralized. And you're not, Canada? Oh, no, we're a federalism. Look, show me in a real federalism a provincial constitution or a territorial constitution cementing what you, the people, get. This absolutely is your property rights, all your civil rights. There is none. There isn't even a charter of any province that cements any civil rights. You'll say, well, yeah, Dave, look at Alberta. There's a Bill of Rights there. Look at Quebec. There's no protection of your civil rights, none whatsoever. Those are human rights. Those are of the federal government. Federal government. It's whatever divine federal government allows you. They've never once in this country needed real, true federalism, meaning having regional division of powers, which are articulated very well from 1867. They even tell you to write provincial constitutions. They have a whole section on it. And how to do that? Through lieutenant governor and your premier. And no premier wanted to ever do it. Not a one. Not a one. Canada is not a corporation. It's a divine entity, first-class system. Second-class system, which is forever and a day always been the merchants, who must swear loyalty to the crown, do whatever the crown says, or they lose their rights to be in that second class, i.e. the incorporated, and get thrown back to working dog, third-class slave, who holds all the debt. You're forever, and all the children you have, forever debt slaves. The less children we have, reduced population over time, going in like a point, like an upside-down pyramid, meaning this many people alive today having less and less and less children, and each generation getting smaller. So then they say, well, we're going to import this many people, right? Every year, the layer gets thicker and thicker. You got to get that many more people, which Trudeau and Harper have been doing since, to justify their extreme borrowing against all of you. And it's not working. There's no way to keep up. It's why your housing went. Because too many people holding too much debt, and the wages are just flat or going down. At least absolutely for everybody outside of that first class. If you work for the government, you're loyal to the government, you're in there, your wages continue to rise above inflation. That sworn King's Court system, the justice system, you'll never find justices going below inflation. You'll never find any government politicians' wages ever on average going below inflation. They're always going up. And even if they do cut them for you publicly, you'll watch a secondary expense system increase sometimes twofold. You lose, you the people, every time in constitutional monarchies. And throughout history, we've watched the crazy radicalism, the wars. Right now, they've got Joe Biden in with all these lunatic monarchical systems or full-on unitaries, which unitary or monarchical system, They're all imperialists. They're all imperial designs where you have a centralized government running all of the country, and there is no federalism, not any true federalism, none whatsoever. You can look at the history of UK federalism, England. You can watch the 9 regions be dismantled. When they became the United Kingdom, it's just 5 countries, all pure unitaries. None of the regions have any governance, no real governance whatsoever, none whatsoever. You want to talk housing crisis? The worst is the island of the UK. People drive further and further for work outside of where they live at astronomical prices beyond all reasonable measure. People live like shitheads. They always have. And go through the Industrial Revolution, as they call this, through WEF and, of course, many others. WEF isn't even the worst. Isn't even the worst because it doesn't encompass all of them, folks. I've seen all of them in action. WEF's bad, but it's not the worst. There's about 3,000 mega billionaires who only exist by robbing all of you through your centralized banks. And it's the legislators, the politicians, who empower them to do that through legislation. They say they don't. There's a good write-up about Michelle Rempel, a whole list of all these WEF people, but WEF is only one of probably 24, some through the United Nations and some just powerful unitaries. And it's scary. And they will throw money at people to get them to align with them, especially the politicians who become fat and wealthy beyond all measure. Jason Kenney resigns, but he hasn't given up his post. He won't give up his post until it's too late to mount an effective campaign for an election. He's not the only one. Lots have done this in time, but he's one of the current worst ones. It's sad to see. Alberta could have a chance, but watch Rachel Notley a whole year in advance of the election over and over in all major publications. UCP does nothing. Why? Because they've been bought out. People say, oh, Michelle Rempel, she cares, and so many people still follow her. Total WEF. Pierre Poilievre, he can run from that, but he's caught with his pants down because now there's not an election till 2025. He has to campaign against all of it for years, which is going to cost him. He's not going to win as he goes. He'll win CPC. He'll trick a lot of people into giving a lot of money again, but he won't live up to those narratives. He's Ottawa. Look at his MP status. Look at what he's wrote for his people in Ottawa, where he lives, who he represents. I promise you, Westerners, everything he's telling you is a bold-faced lie. We heard that from O'Toole, who ran a different campaign compared to 2015. You look at him, he's a red Tory in 2015, and all of a sudden became an alt-right, extreme, dark blue conservative. But then you found out right away that was a lie. Just as you'll find with Pierre Poilievre, all these statements he makes, all this hurrah, 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 banging on a drum, guess what? It's all going to change as soon as he takes power for CPC, just like all the rest. Because you look at his history, he's sworn to the crown, he's a lifetime Privy Council member, and he will do just as Trudeau's doing. Because Harper did it. Harper did it first. We're all just rolling off. Oh, look, I can't believe that Prime Minister got away with that. The people fell for it. Cool. I'm going to double down on it. If they're that weak now, they'll be weaker then. And people will be. And you watch Canada's debt just go like that in an expansive rate. And you transfer your wealth to elite foreigners and even elite loyalists right here in Canada who spend it elsewhere. Even all the oil companies are spending the wealth they're generating in Canada right now on oil elsewhere. Now, the government's made all these taxes to collect a bunch of that wealth in a system they've created for their globalist friends, to fund the Green New Deal, which is not sustainable, UN Sustainable Development, unsustainable development, UN, unsustainable development. If that's not the biggest joke, I don't know what is, but read Joe Biden, Boris Johnson's 2021 Atlantic Charter. Complete rewrite from the promise of King George, Sir Winston Churchill, and Teddy Roosevelt in 1941. That then went on to see Joseph Stalin of the former Soviet Union sign the Yalta Conference at the same time, just a year later. Those three made a deal, cemented it, and the world lived by that up until 2021, where during the pandemic, when you were all distracted, it was the number one giveaway of anything of the Allies and what was crafted and has been beneficial to the world for so many decades. That was the single biggest blow to all the free people of the world. It's exactly what betrayed everyone who gave their life in World War II for freedom. Betrayed all of it. All of it. That's the truth. Thanks, everybody. That's my video. Canada's a country. The United States is a country. You, the people, are the central banks. The problem is you, the people, are allowing legislators to trade off all of your future wealth generation for servicing debt they create against you, because ultimately whatever deals they make with anybody, all debt incurred, whether it can be serviced or not, ends up on you. All of it. All corporate debt can be bankrupted and replaced on you. Or a company can pull out of your country, leave you all the outstanding bills, damage, destruction, poisoning, all of it. All of it goes on you. And then you're responsible for those costs, which means more debt. They took your wealth, they traded off, didn't create anything, traded off, and left you holding the bag every time. That is the third class, the largest and only source of financing to pay things off. All of you. If you work for a living, you pay. You're on the hook for it, forever and a day. And if you can't pay, your children will have to pay. That is a central bank. Whatever your country owes, your children got to pay for the rest of their lives, and all the children they have for the rest of their lives. The less amount of children we have, if we can't at least regrow our population, which we can't, it means as that goes down and debts are going up, guess what happens? Each new individual born in your country holds a larger and larger share. UN Sustainable Development. Unsustainable development. It's a problem. Problem worldwide, and why the system's broken. It's not New World Order, folks. Old World Order. It's how the world operated before 1945. Forever and a day. Forever and a day. Dirty 30s, roaring 20s, cycle, crash, and the people continually have to work forever to pay these things off, and it's never enough. It's only gotten worse. Getting rid of the gold standard, what did that allow? It allowed them to increase the amount of debt you have forever and a day and make it worth more and more, the debt worth more and more, but your ability to pay worth less and less. Because what's worth today is not going to be the same tomorrow. Inflation. Because somebody's always stealing. Somebody's always taking more and more and more. And then you watch, more people are worth more than ever. A very select few, while a mass of the population is worth less, able to generate less. It's not hard to figure out where poverty is going worldwide. It's all a lie. Poverty's never been eradicated worldwide. Say, oh no, everything's working out good. It was for a number of decades, but it's been decades since any real meaningful aspirations that all these organizations say. All we watch is the opposite happen over and over and over. And all central banks keep taking more and more from the working poor. That's the truth. That's my video. That's real economics. It's not rocket science. It's not out of the realm of understanding. And until people start talking that narrative, who are actually from people at home here in the country they live in when they want to talk about their country, I don't know what to tell you. You got to be some kind of moron to believe, just like the United States, that a foreign power is for you or your country. Are you joking? National states, we're all in competition with each other. I'm not saying some of us get along better than others, but somebody's taking advantage of somebody all the time. All the time. And now that has become a global reality. That all these elites from many countries got together under one banner, the empire system of old, because it worked so well to make the richest people of the world ever, all from empires. Empires. If you think it's gone or it's different, we can call it a president. You got to read their constitution to find out the truth. Are they federalist or unitary? Do they really give the power to the people, or do they give it to a wealthy elite? And you'll find most often a divine, wealthy elite have all the power, all the control, and make slaves of you all. That is most of the world. That is a 90th percentile plus a 1%. That's the truth. Always been that way. It's been that way for a very long time. Colonials, Age of Empires and colonials, they're running the show these days, and they've gotten stronger than ever. I don't like communism. I don't like single-party systems, but I do like federalism, and I do like equality of the person. That's the fight of today. The individual and what the individual can do, not by class or not by birthright or divine status or sworn against the people. There's a lot to say about America. People can try to run them down, but they still have the strength of rule of law. They still have constitutionalism, and that's what always resets them back to the light. It's a very old constitution. Does it need a lot of rewrite? Sure, there's issues. But like everything else in this new globalist system, old world order, folks, old world order, not new world order. And if you don't believe that, look at the East India Trading Company, piracy history. Folks, there's nothing new about that. That's old. It's in the history books, and that's the system they're trying to replicate now. That's what they've been doing forever. Colonialism has to stop. They started the process after destroying one of the colonials, Germany, and it seems now they're trying to rewrite that too. Don't give these powers, these ideas, life. Don't let them come back after such a tremendous sacrifice. World War II or Colonial War II. Again, look at all the players, all the original players of World War II, all colonials. World War I, all colonials. Oh, Russia never got, USA they never got involved because they weren't colonials. Look at your history books. It was really hard for them to get involved. They needed to get the colonials to agree to end colonialism. That was the major sacrifice, the altar of freedom. And it was absolute for USA. We're not going anywhere near you until you agree to end all this. Read our Constitution. We don't tolerate this shit. War of Independence. We threw all that away. We gave our lives over and over. We had 5 wars with the colonials forever and a day to get to this point, and we're going to go back on it? Well, Joe Biden, he would have you go back on it. It's a long video, everybody. Thanks for being here this morning. Take the time. Look at the truth. And when you hear videos with people with foreign accents who are from countries who are in empires today, or the worst of the worst with royal families and the rest of it, it should already disturb you when you hear it's a constitutional monarchy or a unitary system. If that country or that speaker comes from a country like that, I wouldn't pay any attention to anything they have to say, because they're not your friend. And often their narratives are to lead you in a big circle, you chasing your tail or going the wrong direction. And that's what they really want. I wouldn't trust any of them. And I find often more and more, why do they get these lunatic narratives or these radical narratives, whether it's right or left? How come it's never just the truth? Why does it got to be some weird conspiracy? And they've corrupted so many Americans. And how did they get corrupted? Because it's the same people coming forward from the same unitary or full-blown monarchical systems. Only there to take from you everything and leave you nothing. And so they give you these stupid narratives, these radical or lunatic narratives, so that you fall flat on your face and you divide a whole pile of people. And then the real issues, which are in the hearts and minds of every American, absolutely most Canadians, but they're so warped, especially Canadians, so institutionalized now, they can't even look at real economics. In what normal sense would you ever take on this kind of debt? Slaving your children. Well, I'll enjoy for me today. My kids will have to figure it out. I've taught them lots. They're gonna have to do better in a system that rapes them before they're even born. More and more, and keeps putting more and more on every single set of soldiers or shoulders. And look at the drugs. The drugs that go rampant through these countries now, and it's blame this, blame that. But again, where did the opioid crisis come from? Who's our number one enemy? We're taught every day. Well, China's responsible. China. They're responsible for everything. Oh, communism, they're going to get you. Well, I don't want communism, and I don't support it, but where did the opioid crisis come from? Oh, the opioid wars. China and the British Empire. UK's royal family. Queen Victoria. Oh, the opioid wars 1 and 2 that China lost, where the royal family was growing mass fields of hard drugs, super addictive opiate, the opiate crisis that they forced on the Chinese people. Can you imagine? I went to war so that my government can force drugs on your people because we figure you're less people. We went to war with you. We beat you. We had guns. We had technology and ships. And now your people will become drug addicts. We're going to force this opiate crisis. If you can go to war to release drugs, had full control as the Emperor of India, which is celebrated in Toronto. There's a giant man on a horse, the Emperor Edward VII of India, Emperor of India. And through Queen Victoria, they grew fields and fields of poppies to harvest massive opioid crisis that they wanted to poison China with so that they couldn't manufacture or trade fairly on the global stage. That's real history. If you haven't read Opioid Wars 1 and 2, you've got to do it. The Opium Wars. China said we don't want those drugs. And the British royal family, starting with Edward VII and Queen Victoria, made sure to force it. That's Elizabeth's grandmother, people don't know. Force it upon you. Because you people are no good for nothing. Now it's all over the world. They say it's the druggies in South America. Oh, yeah, they were wiped out. Oh, yeah, the colonials did them in two. It was royal families that took them out, too, and installed them from the very beginning. Oh, well, that's not good. Where did all this come from? Well, Opium Wars 1 and 2. Read your history. King Edward VII, Emperor of India, who forced the India through the East India Trading Company to grow fields and fields of opium drugs. Get your heroin, your opiates, which are massive problems today throughout the world, all from the royal family and through war. It was reverse drug war, the war for drugs on peoples you don't like. But this isn't in the history books. Instead, we have celebration days in Canada. We celebrate those days. We just had Queen Victoria Day. People from all over Canada, right and left, they have big meetings at Toronto. And they always go right around Edward VII. Freedom! But the biggest slaver, it's so hypocritical. People love it. Oh, he's on a horse. He's a champion. A champion of drugs, oppression, murder, rape, pillage, plunder, genocide of the largest extreme the world's ever seen. The greatest wars in history the world's ever seen. World War I and II. All colonials. We celebrate that. Oh, it's beautiful. Keep the holidays coming. Canada's sick. Wear poppies. Flanders Field. Flanders Field. I think you guys all need to read your history books and go look at what it all means. Why USA doesn't do it. We the people. World War II too. It was all abolished after World War II. USA changed all their holidays. Anything related to any of that shit, USA throws away. They have a war on drugs. They have borders. They put up walls. There's a reason for that. A reason for that. But yet, people don't say a word. It's sick. It's depraved. It's institutionalization. The Democrats are completely burned by it. It's completely manifested in Joe Biden, the worst American president, worst breacher of the Constitution of the United States in any history I can see. He holds the record. A big mouth blabbing all over the world, lying, betraying all those checks and balances that surround him all day long in the administration. Oh, no, we're not going to let him do it. Oh, no, he shouldn't have said that. Oh, no. But it's all in unitaries on the world stage. Who is he with? Well, talk about WEF and the rest of it. Joe Biden's got to be the worst president, the most corrupted president that no founding father could even imagine. Justin Trudeau is what Justin Trudeau is. He's just like Joe Biden. He loves it. Boris Johnson, same thing. Oh, here we go. We got Liberal, Conservative. We had Labour in UK. I mean, all over the Commonwealth. Doesn't matter what party it is. They all have one narrative. Old world order. Nothing to do with you, the people. Use the central banks to enslave the people. Just pass the buck. Take the money, transfer the wealth, hand them all the bills. Legislated and legal. Slave the children of tomorrow. Make a group of people happy today at the tremendous expense of all those to come. Canada is salvageable, fixable, even in all this. Totally salvageable and fixable still today. There's a tremendous amount of land. But it means acknowledging that beyond third class, we still have that savage class of human being. That's all the first people who economically have it the worst. There's been payoffs. There's been elite groups sworn to the crown, loving the crown, or crown attempts to remove with small groups, kind of like what they've corrupted with the unions. It's called the Indian Act of 1876. The government saw that as such a success. The world of colonials saw it as such a success. They've used it and repeated it all over the world, including Nazi Germany, South Africa during apartheid, and the list goes on and on and on, as I gave so many videos over the course of this run. We're finishing residential school genocide in just days. Tuesday's the last day. We're still working tremendously hard. Contrary to popular belief, our entire team is intact. Nobody's been kicked off residential school genocide. We keep our zipper on our lips about the works because it can't be published right now, but that is going to change come June 1st. And I laugh at all those asking for money, trying to say they got some legal narrative. I've watched so many videos from people. Rule number one, when people are asking you for money, if they're not in an election period, they shouldn't be asking you for shit. You can look at all my history. The only time I legally went after looking for funds was during an election period. That's the truth. All published for all Canadians. We were the poorest group of peoples. Very limited amounts of donations. I got one family, one wealthy family to donate large. You can only ask. You don't know how they're going to do it. I would have changed how people donate, and I think that was a learning curve, that just because you're wealthy doesn't mean you're applying your donations correctly. And I think that come next time I run in the federal election, at least anyway, I'm going to make sure that we have that on the website, how to donate appropriately. Don't listen to what you've ever been told. Don't ever listen to just throwing large monies at individuals and parties, because that's not the best way to utilize donations. And when we run our election, we're actually going to give that education, which will be to the detriment of all the other political parties. And that's a good thing. And whether you're rich or poor, you should know how to donate appropriately and why it's important. Why it's important to know what you're doing. Because you've been lied to your entire lives, forever and a day, since 1867. Constitutional Act of Canada, consolidated with the 1982, does not matter. The Bill of Rights, Charter of Rights and Freedoms, doesn't matter, folks. None of that stuff matters. It's the legal system that is. That's the original 1867. The first 2/3 of your Constitution, rules of governance, how to govern with zero accountability. That's basically what it is. The divine right of one class, an elite human being of God. They basically say, God's given me the power because you're not all deemed worthy. I'm a superior human being. Mistake number one, folks. An evil that must be stricken from the world, because the Germans had it. The Germans thought they were the superior race, remember? And so many have tried to repeat that. They call it fascism, which is true, but it's also extreme left crazy too. We've seen it go through communism. We've seen it go through democracies. We've seen it go through republics. It doesn't matter. This evil system, 500 years old, almost 500 years old, is a divinity of a human being. It's birthed out of monarchies, and even though they've transitioned, a lot of them have kept that original scripture in their basic highest law of the land, the Constitution. It's still there. Change the noun, the meaning still the same. Scary. But it was an incredible journey over the last 5 years, and I've learned so much, and now I just give that to people for free. And like I said, the next election cycle I will give for free how to properly donate, and don't fall for the BS from political parties. And we're going to do that in the appropriate time. Giving anybody any money outside of that, or in any different capacity, or large sums to specific individuals, they have no right to transition that to everybody else. It's just pocket stuffing or self-fulfillment. And that's what all Canadians need to know. All Canadians need to know that. And I will teach proper donations in the proper times and why. And everything outside of that is just you being raped and robbed and actually watching money not work for you, not in any real political sense. Thanks, everybody. That's my video. Long-winded, long. Thanks for sticking with it so long. God bless everybody. Enjoy what's left of your weekend. And watch for us Wednesday. Wednesday, I'm going to be able to go somewhat full public for everybody. A lot, anyway. A lot that hasn't been discussed. will be made public. Anyway, it's going to cost you nothing. Just your time. Love you all. Bye now.